Well, we just got done with one of the most exciting chess games I've ever seen in my life. Magnus Carlsen afterwards was interviewed and said that every single one of the games were perfect. They both had 100% accuracy, and yet each time they played, both Hans and Magnus lost every single game except for almost all of them. So I won't get into the drama of this because Magnus and Hans got into a fist fight in the middle of the game and after the game. And then in the middle of the game and after the game, they also were very professional and didn't fight about it at all. So we want to stick with the chess and not get into the war of words that they had going back. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of just silence during this game. So we start off in this game by far was the most, if not the least, of all the games. And Hans had the white pieces, and Magnus had the black pieces, but he also tried to move the white pieces at the same time, but on chess.com they don't let you move both sides if you're playing an opponent. So Hans starts off with the standard Gimbo Gambit. Magnus replies with 5, line T5. And this is a pretty standard setup, so I'll just blitz the next couple moves because you guys already know this. Hans is going to respond here. Magnus goes there. Hans goes here. Magnus takes the stance that as he should, and then Hans completes development by going here. So now you got a pretty standard development, standard setup for the Gimbo Gambit. But the problem here was there's a really tricky line. I'll show it to you. If Magnus ends up going here, Hans can go here. Magnus can go here, and look. Magnus goes here. Check. So I don't think Hans saw this, but luckily Hans just... Magnus didn't go there. Instead, Magnus goes here. Putting pressure on the rook right here, and also saying, hey, look at my king, he's open, but he's still safe because he's right next to the queen. So typical move in this position, Hans is going to go here. Now, the funny thing about this position is the rook can move right here. Also, the rook can move right here. So that's pretty hilarious. A lot of people were laughing about that. So Magnus goes here. Now Hans wants to take the center, so he moves the queen over to the edge of the board. Magnus responds by playing, we think it's the Bomb Cloud, but it's not. What this is a very simple tactic that I'll explain to you when you're older. So the thing that Hans does to combat this is he goes here. And now if you look, the pawn is staring straight at the king. Well, they have a face-off. The king stares back. But he actually goes here. Now, what the knight does here is it does a lot of things. It protects the pawn here. It protects the pawn here. And it also attacks its own queen here. So if you have any sort of self-flagellation in these positions, it usually bodes well for your position. So Hans obviously doesn't want that, so he goes here. And now there's just a fest of takey takes. We got takes. That's it. Oh, no, we got takes, 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 takes. And that's it. That's all the takes at this point. And now they were trying to order food during this period, which was really controversial because someone could write a note in the hamburger, and as he's eating it, take it out of his mouth, open it up, look at the note in front of the arbiters, and if the arbiters don't see him pulling out a massive note out of his mouth and reading it, he could get some advice from Kramnik. So instead of ordering food, what they decided to do was just do take-in that evening. So right now you have about an even position. It's ones and ones, as they say. Now with your bishop in the corner here, a lot of times you want to move your knight out to this spot, mainly because it covers this square and it covers this square. And potentially, if you move it in the right spot, later on in the game, it could cover this square, that square too. It could cover this square and that square, which forms this nice right triangle, which we all know was invented by Pythagoras. So anyways, so we keep moving. It's white's turn to play, so he goes here, trying to strike on the c-file. Then we have pawn to there. Now, the interesting thing about pawn to here is the queen can actually take. You think that Magnus is going to take back with his knight, but he didn't. And I don't know why. I think he wanted to do this fork, but again, they did take in, and it was Chinese, so you don't typically use forks in that position. So anyways, Hans tried to castle out of it, but for some reason the program wouldn't let him, so instead he moved his king over. Which is fine, because there's no way Magnus is going to take that rook. That rook has been calling him names the whole time, and he doesn't want to start. He doesn't want to start that fight. So he moves his king back here. As they say, king front, king back in the same place, back to the basics. So remember that when you're playing chess, because it always helps out. Now he moves his king here just to give another protector to this pawn right here. We got a knight move there, and even though he's protecting his pawn, he still moved it for some reason. And the commentators were wondering, well, why did he move that pawn if he didn't care so much about it and he was trying to defend it? Well, the answer came later in the interview, and he said he just didn't even know. So we have here, and then the you got it. You guessed it. You guys knew that this was happening, because where's the knight going to go? Is it going to go back to here to safety? Or is it going to take this knight? Or is it going to go right here and let itself be captured? It went right there and let itself be captured. So he takes with the bishop, but he's got this sneaky move where he moves the knight here, forking the queen, and this pawn. So he defends the queen here, takes, two up, passants, pastrami's, and then rutabaga. Okay, now in this position, the evaluation bar showed they were fairly equal, and they thought that this was going to end up as a draw, because your king's safe in the corner here, his king is back to the basics, so they thought they were just going to offer a draw, but crazily enough, Magnus decided to keep playing, as he does. So he went here, protecting the pawn with his bishop, and Hans does the crazy move, bishop to b4, before it moved there. Whew. Magnus was not expecting this. He completely missed this move. So he ends up just pushing the pawn, which he takes with his king. And then you got another festive of festy takes. Festy take. Take. And then you want to take with the king, but you don't want to take with the king, because then you've got this here and here. And this is what happened in the game. So he tries to put the king in check with his pawn, but the pawn's not able to get over there correctly. And then Hans tries to put his king in check, but this guy's on the brown squares, and the king's not on the brown squares, which is a problem. We got takes, moves, takes, like this. And then you've got here, forking these two. So he moves this, gets it good, gets it better, comes here, takes it, and then the king, right now, he's the strongest piece in the game. And as everyone knows, you cannot check a king if you have all your pieces left on the board. you need to have at least one piece. So the king moves. Then we got a bunch of computer moves. No one really knows why the computer does this, but we get a lot of these moves, 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 some of these and some of those, and some of these. Now we get in this position. Now you always want the opposition, right? You want to be opposing your opponents. And at this point, crazily enough, you go here, takes, and now he's got the opposition. Here, 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 and then finally takes. So in this position, black wins because he's the first king to get on e2, as they were playing king of the e2. So crazy game. At this point, the score was tied, and Hans immediately just jumped up and did a backflip. So we're still unsure if he landed the black backflip or not. He's still in the air, halfway up and down. But crazy, crazy times we live in. So tomorrow we'll be seeing more of these two ferocious competitors. And if it's late at night and you need to grab a bite to eat, I would say just go do it. Just get it done. Anyways, thanks for watching this game. I hope that you learned at least 14 things from this. And if you didn't learn 14 things, go to the local farmers market and get some local processed juice.